Deep in the emerald heart of Papua New Guinea, there are people who have never seen a smartphone, never heard an engine, and have lived for generations without electricity, clocks, or currency. For 7 days, I shared their world, sleeping in their homes, eating their food, learning what it means to live in a place where time itself has no edge. What I discovered changed everything I thought I knew about connection, simplicity, and what it truly means to be human. The Kombai live in the vast swamp forests of West Papua, Indonesia, a land so remote that it seems to breathe on its own. Their homes rise 40 feet above the earth, suspended between trunks, smoke drifting from palm-thatched roofs. A single treehouse becomes a constellation of others, scattered across a sea of green canopy. From above, it looks less like a village and more like a living organism, grown rather than built. For centuries, their ancestors chose isolation, not as rejection but as protection. Today, fewer than 4,000 Kombai remain, continuing a life virtually unchanged since before the First World War. Every year, logging roads and satellite signals inch closer, carving lines through what has been until now one of the last untouched cultures on Earth. My own journey began half a year before I set foot in the forest. 6 months of waiting, letters, permissions, arrangements that relied not on email but on people, go-betweens who could speak both the language of the city and the forest. The Kombai have no written words. Every agreement was carried by memory and trust. From Jakarta, I flew east to Jayapura, a journey through time as much as distance. 12 hours by broken roads led to the Korowai region, the last place wheels could go. From there, our world dissolved into water. A narrow motorized canoe carried us up the Becking River for 3 days. The further we went, the quieter the world became. Metal roofs vanished, then the sound of engines. By the third day, there was only the rhythm of paddles and the call of unseen birds. Civilization faded behind us like a receding dream. From here we walk, said Marcus, our guide, a man born between two worlds. He had grown up in a Korowai village, then studied in a missionary town. He spoke softly, like the forest was listening. We stepped into chest-deep swamp water, our gear balanced on our heads. The ground disappeared beneath dark, rippling pools. Every movement released the scent of earth, sap and decay, the perfume of life and constant renewal. The forest surrounded us like a cathedral, the canopy sealing out the sky. After 6 hours, Marcus stopped and pointed upward. At first, I saw nothing. Then, emerging from shadow, a house in the trees, a lattice of palm trunks balanced on stilts of rattan. Smoke curled from its heart. It swayed slightly as if breathing. This was architecture written in instinct, not blueprints, no nails, no metal, just knowledge passed through generations. At its doorway stood Balaam, the man who had become both host and mirror, bare-chested, a rattan belt around his waist, cassowary feathers crowning his head. He was 42, though here age is measured by harvests and floods, not numbers. Through Marcus, he welcomed us with a nod that felt older than language itself. Life in the Kombai treehouse was both simplicity and survival woven together. The platform, 20 feet square, was home for 6, Balaam, his wife, his mother, and 3 children. There were no walls, no rooms, no separation between sleeping, eating, and living. Everything happened in the same space, surrounded by mist and wind. At dawn, the forest exhaled silver. Balaam's mother, her back curved like the root of a banyan, began her work, pounding the white pith of the sago palm in a wooden trough. Each strike released a puff of fine dust, a rhythm older than history. The starch strained through woven leaves would become pancakes, their only staple food. The children moved with small, exact gestures. The eldest boy climbed 30 feet up an adjacent tree to check traps for birds. The middle child tended the fire, feeding it with care. The youngest watched and learned, education not from instruction but from imitation. Every act was a lesson in endurance. I ate what they ate, flat, fibrous sago cakes and the famous sago grubs, fat, white larvae roasted until golden. They burst between the teeth like warm coconut butter. The Kombai laughed when I first hesitated. To them, food was not pleasure, it was necessity and gratitude. Days blurred together. There was no clock, only light and shadow. Morning began with birds, night fell with the hush of rain. The concept of choice, that invisible weight of modern life, didn't exist here. You ate what the forest gave. You slept when dark came. The simplicity was not poverty, it was alignment. But beneath the beauty was a harder truth. This life had no safety net. A broken bone could be a death sentence. A cut could turn fatal. Infant mortality was visible, unspoken. The Kombai lived with life's fragility as a fact, not a fear. In their acceptance, there was a calm I could not name. At night, lying beneath the stars on that high platform, I thought about home. The apartments stacked like boxes, the endless hum of machines, the isolation behind walls and screens. From their world, our world seemed unimaginable. Abundance without connection, freedom without peace. Anthropologists call the Kombai a subsistence adaptation, a culture tuned perfectly to its environment. Every practice, this, the fishing, the sago harvest, the tree houses, is a key cut for one lot: survival here and nowhere else. Their knowledge of the forest, which plant heals, which insect warns of rain, is a library built from the observation, not books. Yet this knowledge is vanishing. Languages die faster than species. When the old ones pass, 10,000 years of ecological memory will vanish with them. The Kombai know the rainforest not as environment, but as self, and that wisdom has no translation in our world of algorithms and cities. In contrast, we who live surrounded by technology have never been more connected or more alone. The Kombai live bound by necessity, yet none of them seem lonely. They belong completely to each other, to the forest, to the rhythm of their world. In our abundance, we have everything except the ability to stop wanting more. They have almost nothing, and they want nothing. That difference between infinite desire and complete contentment may be the true measure of civilization, but the forest is not eternal. Logging roads creep forward 5 kilometers each year. The hum of distant chainsaws already echoes faintly in nearby valleys. Within a decade, satellite internet will reach even this remote corner. What happens then, when curiosity and profit find their way here, is not a question of if, but when. There are 3 futures. In the first, gradual integration. The young will leave for schools and jobs, returning home only for ceremonies. The tree houses will stand empty, relics of childhood. In the second, protection. Perhaps the government declares this a cultural reserve, buying time but not permanence. In the third, rapid disruption. The forest sold for palm oil, the Kombai scattered, their language reduced to recordings in archives. Whatever the outcome, this moment, this fragile balance, is already passing into history. The children who laughed at my awkwardness with their food will see smartphones before adulthood. The silence will not last forever. On my final morning, the forest was wrapped in fog. Balaam stood beside the treehouse, the smoke from the fire curling around him like a crown. I wanted to explain my life to him, the noise of the city, the lights, the endless search for meaning. But there were no words that made sense in his world. He smiled once, a gesture that said everything and nothing, and turned away. As we pushed off down the river, the current carried us between the trees. The village faded behind mist. First the tree houses, then the smoke, then silence. Birds glided low over the water, and sunlight broke through in fractured beams. Civilization waited somewhere downstream. I wasn't sure which direction was home anymore. Modernity, I realized, gives us the power to see everything except ourselves. The Kombai may live without mirrors, but somehow they reflect us more clearly than any glass ever could.